Hey everybody, Mike here from the Wall of Metal. I'm getting back into doing some YouTube videos for the handful of people that might watch my channel. Maybe somebody can help me with, give me some tips on how to get more well-known and get more viewers. And I used to think it was a matter of what you put in your title. People would search and then they'd see it. But I know I've got there's a few guys that I've interacted with, online and through YouTube that watch my stuff. So help me out, help a brother out. How do I get a wider audience? But anyway, the topic today is we're talking about crate digging. This is a crate digging episode. I'm going to show some older albums that I've picked up from a couple different stores. One brand new, close to where I live, and then another one that I've been going to for a while now. But I've got a lot of old stuff that I've picked up, and I want to show that now. So we'll just real quickly kind of go through them. I got a stack right here, and we'll move them here closer to me, and we'll go through them. And the first one we've got up here is it's a good one. This is the debut, or from a self-titled from Vandenberg from 1980, 80 sometime in the 80s. Vandenberg. Everybody remembers Burning Heart. This is really good hard rock album, and really the reason I saw this and picked it up because the Vandenberg has a new album coming out called, I think it's called 2020, and what I've heard of it so far, on digital, is fantastic. So I'd like to maybe eventually have that new album on vinyl, but I had never had this on any format, so I was excited to pick this up. And then here's one. I had the band's first album, and I saw this one and picked this up, and I think this is a better album. This is a Southern rock band. Never made it. Didn't make it like Molly Hatchet, 38 Special, Blackfoot, those guys. But this is Doc Holliday with Doc Holliday Rides Again, and this Confederate flag. Better. I don't want to offend any of my viewers. But there's the band members. If you know who they are, awesome. If you've never heard of Doc Holliday and you like Southern rock in the vein of more like Molly Hatchet and kind of a little bit more amped up Lynyrd Skynyrd, I'd recommend it. I think this album is good because it's got a variety of different styles. There's tunes on here that were very much influenced by the Allman Brothers style. There's tunes on here that are more in the Molly Hatchet style, and there kind of a couple pop song here or there that's more like 38 Special. So Doc Holliday was really kind of spreading their wings a little bit and not falling into any one subcategory of what is Southern rock. But anyway, this is a really good record, and I'm happy to have it in my collection now. Another one I found that I had never had this. Wasn't a big fan of these guys back in the day, but now with like female vocalists in metal is all the rage now. And this is one of the bands that as far as I can remember was maybe one of the first bands to feature a really powerhouse female on lead vocals, and that's Zed Yago. And the album is Pilgrimage. Interesting. The U.S. version of this album, there might have been a couple different versions of this released, but if you go on Wikipedia or if you look at the album on different websites, there's a different track listing with a couple songs that are on this one that aren't on that one. So I'm not sure if it was a European version and an American version, but this is the version I've got, and it's all right. I like it. Here's another one. I remember seeing when I was growing up in the 80s. I remember seeing this, and I remember there used to be a radio show called The Metal Shop, and this was featured on that radio show. This is Mountain with Go for Your Life. This was kind of Mountain's re-emergence after being gone for a while. Was Leslie West? Who was on here? Corky on? One of them died. So you got Corky Lang, Leslie West, and then shame on me, original bass player for Mountain. He had passed. They said that this album cover, I read somewhere where Leslie West's idea of the album cover was that it was basically him in the ground looking up into the sky and in the mountains. It's gonna Felix Pappalardi. Duh. Okay, so this is kind of a, you know, the album cover was kind of a tribute to him, but this was Mountains re-emerging on the scene in the mid '80s, and it's got some good stuff on it. I like it. This one was one. I had this on cassette, never had anything else. It was kind of like, you know, I gotta buy it if I see it. It's, you know, Ted Nugent, Penetrator. These Ted Nugent albums in the '80s, kind of a string of them. Penetrator, Little Miss Dangerous, If You Can Lick Him, Lick Him. The string of his albums in the '80s were critically panned, but I always really liked this one, Penetrator. The title track, Penetrator, is one of my favorite Nugent songs. So I pretty much just picked this up just, you know, to have that alone. Here's one that was I had on cassette and listened to an awful lot back in the day. I really liked this band, and this is their second album. This is Giuffria with Silk and Steel, and of course Greg Giuffria from Angel was the lead guy behind this band. And you had Lanny Cordola was the guitarist on this album. He made his debut here after you know, I'm getting so old I forget these things all the time. Anyway, and another guitar, Craig Goldie. There we go. See, it takes me a second, but I'll get it. So Craig Goldie played on the debut, and I always liked Craig Goldie, but he left. Lanny Cordola came in. This is a good album. Silk and Steel. It's silk side, steel side, kind of a softer side and kind of a harder side. But again, I haven't seen this too often, and I was happy to pick it up. Next one, boy, this was one of my favorites back in the day. I only had it on cassette. I think I found a version on CD, and I think it was a pirate CD copy, but I was just happy to have something that I could play of it again. I've seen a lot of guys show this in some of their random videos. So a lot of people have it, but no one really talks about it too much anymore. But I was so excited when I saw this in the crate. That was one of those moments where you find one that, like, oh man, I'm definitely going to pick it up. And it was Kick-Axe, Vices. Canadian band. I mean, you know, it's kind of, you know, if you like Helix, you know, Judas Priest. I mean, I saw Kick-Axe open for Judas Priest, and you know, it didn't make it very big. After this album, the follow-up was Welcome to the Club. It wasn't good in my opinion. It was way too commercial. But this album, this is one of my very favorites from back in the '80s. So very happy to have found it. Here's one that I'm surprised I've never owned this. I remember my best friend's older brother had this, and I thought it was, you know, I always remember the album cover thinking this was just like a really, really awesome looking record. But I found it, had to take it home with me. It's Scorpions Tokyo Tapes. Really good live album. This one goes back to the Uli John Roth days. I'm more of a later era Scorpions fan. You know, like I said, up in the '80s. You know, so the, you know, the version of the band after he left, and Matthias Jabs came in. You know, that was more the Scorpions that I'm familiar with. But you know, I've never had this. Everybody always talks about how great of a live album this is, so I pretty much had to pick it up. Here's one I found. You know, everybody's got, you know, the kind of one-hit wonders and the songs that they remember from their youth. And one of the big songs back in the '80s that I really liked was Sausalito Summer Night by this band, Diesel. And this is a really good record. I didn't really know anything else by, you know, What's in a Tank is the name of the album. I didn't really know much about them other than that song, but this is, you know, there's some good hard songs on here. Bite Back, which is the closer of the album, it's a really good hard rock song. And forget where these guys are from. I want to say they're from same place Vandenberg is from. Yeah, somewhere over there. Yeah, it's a good album. and Canadian band. I always I always remember growing up. I remember albums that I always thought looked cool, but I never had them. Maybe a friend had them, or like I said, my best friend's brother had a lot of records. But this is one that I always remember seeing, and I only had one other album by the band. So this is kind of one that I've always kind of had on my radar. If I see it, I'm going to grab it. This is Out of Hand by Coney Hatch. I have Friction also somewhere in my catalog, and I think if I ever find their first album, I think this is their second album. If I find it, I'll pick it up. This is hard rock out of Canada, kind of AOR kind of stuff. Carl Dixon on vocals. Real similar, like April Wine, Coney Hatch. If you like that kind of stuff. Aldo Nova, all those guys are kind of tied together. At one point, they've either played a song that the other one wrote, or they've appeared on each other's albums. But if you like Aldo Nova and April Wine, and you've never heard of Coney Hatch, check them out. It's just straightforward, decent hard rock. And then the last one I'm going to show is probably one of my favorites of this expedition. I've never had this. I have it on CD, but I never had this growing up, and I'm really surprised that I never have. This is just a fantastic record from a fantastic band. Might be probably my favorite album from this band, and this is just really, really cool. I'm so glad to have this now after all these years. I've never had it. This is Dream Police by Cheap Trick. Really awesome. I always thought this was a great album cover, and it's got the gatefold, the gatefold photos, the back cover. I always liked that. I just thought it's a great picture of Rick Nielsen, and what a great album! Great album. Got the lyrics here, and this is just such a neat. This is really neat. I can't believe that I'm 50 years old and I've never owned this album on vinyl. I didn't own it when I was growing up, so I was very happy to have this. It plays fantastically. This is now probably one of my favorite records in my vinyl collection, and I picked it up from the bins for less than $6, so you can't beat that. So that's what I want to show from some of my recent crate digging. I'm going to do a couple other videos of some other things I picked up. Mostly some of those are going to be have mostly newer new releases on vinyl, but always fun to go crate digging. Love to do it. I'm going to start doing more of it during this pandemic, and you can't go to see sports or events or concerts, so instead of going to a Reds game in Cincinnati, I'm going to go to a couple record stores that are in Cincinnati. Maybe go to a couple record stores that are in Louisville, Kentucky. Just find them online, make sure they're open, take a day trip, go see what you get. So I'm gonna take another drink of my metal drink here. I got my Skull goblet with my Jones green apple soda and caramel vodka. Got my camera propped up on, I had to use one of these nifty Iron Maiden coasters that I made. I made these. How awesome is that? Yeah, I showed these I'm gonna show them again. I made that. That's awesome. If you want to know how to make these, go on YouTube and check out tile coaster instruction, or tile coasters, and there'll be some tutorials on how to do that. But there's lots of stuff to be done during this pandemic, so let me know what you guys have picked up lately. Let me know what you think about some of the stuff I got. And when you're in that record store, don't be afraid to let them know your metal. Bang your head and throw the goat. I'll talk to you later.